to pick that tape up, but now I want to talk about crossing the bridge to America, and we're going to look at John 8:32. John chapter 8, verse 32. John 8:32. The Gospel of John. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. This scripture now, this text, is being explored all across America because America now has finally arrived at the truth-telling mode for the first time in a long time that can be remembered in its history.
All right. Talk now.
Last Monday, a week from tomorrow, the front page of the paper had me and my son and my grandson, and it talked about the three generations of the Damon Lynches and how they have interacted with civil rights and the activism that has come from collectively those three. Some of you might have seen it, but I'm one of the original founders of the Freedom Center, and we tried years ago, almost 20 years now. A lot of people think we've only been open about, we've only been open about maybe 10, 11 years, but we were struggling down there trying to open it for 5 or 6 hard, laborious years before the doors even opened. We struggled for 2 years as to what and how to spell center. Would we spell it C-E-N-T-E-R, what that would mean? Or would we spell it C-E-N-T-R-E, and what that would mean? For 2 whole years, we went round and round. Some of the smartest, most intelligent people that's ever been collected at one time in this city. At that time, we were told we were heretofore the first group of folk who had that kind of talent to open up that kind of building. But yet, with all of that talent and all of that know-how, you'd be surprised at the struggle that it took to get the doors open. And so it is. Now, we have decided that in America, things are getting so rough that we are not moving as rapidly as we thought we were going to move toward freedom. Freedom for everybody. I'll repeat that.
Yes, sir.
Freedom for everybody. There are still some who have not yet been able to receive freedom.
All right. Yes, sir.
And now, everybody's saying, well, there are 2 kinds of freedom. There's a kind that we hope that we should have gotten when they wrote the Declaration of all of that stuff, those great words. We all are endowed with all of those radiant, great rights. But not so. Didn't happen. Now as we come to the last day in Black History celebration, for the whole month, folk been calling all of us, come to our school, come to our church, talk to our white people about what it means to be free. Well, Reverend, you got the same Bible I got. You graduated from seminary just like I did.
Yes, sir.
Why do I have to come?
Preach now.
Come to St. Xavier. Talk to our students. There are 2 schools that I know of that you got to take a test to get in, which indicates that you have the smarts in order to graduate. It's Warren Hills Public. St. X, 1831. St. X opened in 1831. The first blacks that St. X had was in 1962, first graduates, 1964. That's from 1831.
Yeah.
So they sent me an outline of what they wanted me to talk about because the powers that be, including the headmasters, the principals, and all of the teachers, said we want our kids, these are smart kids, and said, Reverend, you will be talking to 15 to 18-year-olds, and they are smart kids, but they are yet naive, and they don't know all of the situations about the new civil rights and civil rights period. So we just want to inform you, this is the kind of crowd you will be talking to, and we know that you can deal with the level that they're on so that their understanding of what's going on in this world about freedom would be appreciated and they can benefit from it. That was my mission.
Yes, sir.
And lo and behold, when I saw the article that they did on us, and there, listening to my grandson, some said, take your grandson. Let him speak to the new civil rights, to the youngsters.
Yes, sir.
And we had a ball. We went up there, we spoke to 3 classes in succession, packed. It was probably 150 in each class. And they lapped it up. They enjoyed it. They were so glad to get it. And you know what makes me feel good about that, based upon how young they are? That if they don't get corrupted, like some of their predecessors did, namely their ancestors, then we got a chance in America to really have equal freedom.
Yes, sir.
We got about 7 politicians left in the fray. It's been a real crazy thing. It's been almost like it's a mad, mad, mad world. Or like the Barry Boys, or like Abbott and Costello, the way they've been carrying on. Yeah, it's just a comedy of errors. And we're going to make America great. Oh, yes, we are. And I hope you do, brother. The Freedom Center the other day launched something called Biblical Truth and Worldly Truth. And what we have to do is sit around and discuss, scholars, what is the difference when this text says, you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free, which is one of those moral statements that breaks through the confusion and chaos of our lives.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Untruths that we believe are able to control us, dominate us, and set us on the wrong path. Untruths are burdens to bear, and even can be idols that hold us captive,
Yes, sir.
not allowing us to be free. Who understand ourselves and the world truthfully. The families of the victims of Charleston church shooting just last June, they have spoken grace, they spoke truth, And their example could inspire us to acknowledge and change the truths about race in America. I heard folks say to me, ain't nowhere in the world, Reverend, I never would have forgiven anybody. Shoot my people like that down like a dog in Bible study, ain't gonna do it. And Reverend, I don't even expect God to forgive them. I don't believe that's what the word is saying. That you got to forgive somebody while you're studying about Jesus that comes into the basement of a prayer meeting and Bible study and guns down somebody because of the color of their skin. But you know what? Their grace, those people, will test the integrity of our truth and our response. We will seek, we will tell, and respond to the truth as we go deeper in our needed new national, there's a national conversation coming,
Yes, sir.
and action on racism in America. I'm 77 years old, and you know how many studies we've done and how many studies I've been through? We are the most studied people in the world. The school system is studying your children. They're nothing but pawns in the hands of people who make the laws and tell you how your child ought to be educated. And we will bail against you if you tell them, well, can we bring at least some Booker T. Washington in the class? Oh, no. It's not American. Well, when did Booker T. Washington not become an American? George Washington Carver and most of the peanut butter they eat, he discovered it, and yet we can't talk about him. And you know what bothers me? And I'm so glad because some of the best white people and all of my friends have it. Wasn't that last time you heard that? Everybody on your job will tell you their best friend, their wife. You go to their house, and, oh, this is one of my best friends. Yep. And I feel good when they tell me I'm their best friend because the people who say that know they better not say it unless I know they like me and I like them. You ain't gonna get away with that one on me. You're not gonna make no brownie points on me. And like you've been loving us forever. No, don't bring me in and make me your pouncy-wouncy. So y'all might let them play that on you, but homie ain't gonna let them play that on me. For example, we've seen and heard painful revelations about how police and even more systematically the criminal justice system too often mistreat young men and women of color. What happened in these incidents, huh? Are they just incidents, huh? Or is there a pattern here, huh? I mean, is there really just one criminal justice system for all of us, huh? Is there an equal justice system? Or are there actually different systems for white Americans and for Americans of color? I mean, I need to know this. What's the truth? We're trying to discover truth here this morning.
Listen to the preacher.
Are we hiding behind untruths that help make us feel more comfortable? Or are we treating imagery? Or are we willing to seek the truth? Even if that is uncomfortable. If the truth we seek, if we find it, and if it makes us uncomfortable, is that all right with you? The gospel text cited above is telling us that only by seeking the truth are we made free. Preach, Lynch. Let's kind of say it again. Only by seeking the truth are we made free. And that by hanging on to untruths can keep us captive to comfortable illusions.
Yes, sir.
Those little boys up there, they were just so excited to hear about some things that my grandson was talking about. He asked him, said, what kind of news do you guys watch? Where are you getting your truths and your news from? And they talked, and so he reckons me as a corporate. He said, Dad, you can go into the, Granddad, you can go into the corporate world. He reckons his daddy, my son, as the grassroots. He's out there in the street. He said, but I'm underground. Yeah. He's found those folk that we need to be looking for. When the first ladies had their great big search for folk who need to be tested and are not getting tested, there was a mistake, not totally, but a mistake made to think that they were all in the church. But when the data came back from UC Health, who did the data for us, free, we found out that we did not even scratch the surface when it came to getting down to where they are. My grandson said, I know where they are, Granddad. Because he's on one of those internets or whatever that stuff is, that he's now like their guru. I said, how you get to be in charge of all these people? Granddad, I'm underground. I told you I'm underground. I said, well, Doctor, you what we need. And then he told me the other day, he said, Granddad, I'm feeling the burn. I'm feeling the burn. Think I'm going to go with Bernie. And then I said, well, okay, if that's the way you're going with Bernie, go on with Bernie. I ain't got no problem with that. Yeah, you know, go on with Bernie. And then two hours later, he called back, hey, Granddad, you know, I went over to Trump's place and trying to get a job over there and to work for Trump. And when I mentioned my name, they thought I was you. And they said, oh, we're so glad to have you. We're just so glad to have you. Yes, sir, what can, you can do something. He said, no, I ain't my granddad. I ain't my dad. He said, I want to work for Trump. I can go underground and find some people. When they found out that he was the underground man, 31 years old, they said, all right, thank you, bye. And if the untruths are more deeply idols, they also separate us from God, which is obviously high important for those of us who are people of faith. We're all of faith here. We want to know the truth. Jim Willis, in his new book, talking about America's original sin, and he was shocked when he talked to the police chief of New York, former Bratton. You know Bratton's reputation. But Bratton acknowledged at a church breakfast way back in 2014 the negative role of police against African Americans throughout American history. Many of the worst parts of black history would have been impossible without police. Bratton said, that's what he said. He said, a whole lot of the history that we have on blacks would have been impossible without police.
Yes, sir.
You can imagine, Jim Wallace said, to my surprise, when he then used the language of original sin. Slavery, our country's original sin.
Yes, sir.
I'm quoting Bratton. Sat on a foundation codified by laws enforced by police, by slave catchers. Bratton is no theologian or liberal academic, but rather an experienced, knowledgeable, and tough cop.
Yes, sir.
In fact, Bratton has been a controversial figure in New York, coming under fire for his broken windows thing in New York. And guess where I just saw it the other day? Laying there in the bed watching Blue Bloods. defend the broken windows policy against Whoopi Goldberg.
Yes, sir.
It's real, y'all. Everything that was done to us, the truth is now coming out. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And if the Lord sets you free, you shall be free indeed. You know why we've been able to make it? Because we know who set us free. And we know we've always been free. Before I'll be a slave, I'll be dead and buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. There's nothing like freedom. They asked me the other day, said, Reverend Lynch, what is your definition of freedom? I said, well, you can probably go back about maybe 10 years ago. I did a film down here for the Freedom Center when Rosa Parks got honored. And I did that film, and I got my definition from Eugene Smith. Eugene Smith is a famous former attorney here in Cincinnati. And he was defending a case over in Kentucky. And I took a class of boys and girls from the Concentrated Employment Program. Keith worked with me over there. CEP, it was called, over there to watch Eugene in action. And he was defending a case that was accounted to be rape. They charged this guy with rape. And I got there, and they did the old pencil in the bottle thing, you know? Yeah. Like if the girl keeps moving, the pencil won't go in the bottle. So he beat that because Gene proved it with that bottle thing. He proved that if he keeps moving that bottle, there's no way that pencil will go in there. So if that girl kept squirming, that guy, no penetration. And boy, we talking about go, boy, go. He was like a woo. You talking about a Perry Mason. Talking about a Matlock getting down. They did it. But the black guy wasn't off the hook yet. He wasn't off the hook yet. The other charge they had on him was impeding the progress and the movement and restricting the freedom of the girl. Which meant that as the girl was approaching him on the sidewalk, she was walking this way, he was in front of her. She did this, and he did that. She did this, then he did that. She did this, he did that. Here it comes. Somebody I've never seen before in my life. I never would have thought that that was a chargeable offense and that you were impeding somebody else's freedom. Because I'd done that to a whole lot of girls. Come here, baby. You leave me alone. Come on, when you gonna come back? I had been guilty of restricting somebody's freedom. The charge is that when you impede the progress of somebody else's movement, you have restricted their freedom. And when I think about the slaves, couldn't go without a note. To the next plantation, you had to have a note to go. You couldn't leave where you were going unless you had permission. But we were born free.
Yes. Lord, help.
To go where we wanted to go.
Yes.
Born free as the wind blows. And then I love that second verse. Live free. When somebody impedes your progress, won't let you go where you want to go, then that's a sin. That's a sin.
Yes, sir.
And the original sin in this country was to be put in slavery and not be allowed to go where God had told you you were free to go.
Say it, brother.
When they asked me to name my 5 top criminal defense attorneys when I preached Les Gaines' funeral, Gene Smith was first. Foss Hopkins was second. Les Gaines was third. Ken was fourth. And the new guy that dressed sharp now, Bennett, Clyde. Those are my top 5. If you got a better 5, see me after service. I agree with Commissioner Bratton that telling the truth about America's original sin is the best way to deal with it and ultimately be free of it. That makes moral and practical sense. Yet the truth of systematic injustice in the past and present must also compel us to action.
Yes, sir.
Those little kids up there were so glad to get what we took. I want to talk honestly about America's original sin and how it still lingers in our criminal justice system and too many other areas of American life. Why are they still talking about it? If it's not true, if everything is hunky-dory, then why do we have to keep changing it every year and talking about somebody running on a platform? Why is there still laws on the books that powder cocaine and then liquid cocaine and then the other cocaine, that one is worse than the other? Why now are we such in a up in arms and hullabaloo about the heroin is out on the street? What was going on back in the day when it was on the street in our neighborhood? Why wasn't it a big uproar then? Why? I don't understand why we can sit back as the church and just let all this go by and not say anything about it. It's crazy. They said, wow, mister, you know you kind of different. A little lesbian guy or lady. I get confused, I'm sorry. LBGT, how's that? Stood up and raised the question and wanted to know what I felt about that. I said, well, I'm glad you stood up, man. It was about 3 of them in the class. And I said, you know, I fought that fight pretty much by myself because my black preacher brothers, they took the Bible and they put the Bible, Jim I. Crawford was one of them, they took the Bible and put the Bible in front of the law of the land. Now, you might also agree with my black preachers. I don't care. Because we won. Article 3, Issue 12. The thing was that if our homosexual brothers and sisters were going for a job, they had to be quiet about their sexual orientation because they weren't hiring people like that. If you were going for an apartment, couldn't get one. They knew who you were and found out, they put you out with no ramifications or repercussions. You were just out there because of who you were in terms of your sexual orientation. And to live in a civil society like America is purporting itself to be, then I said this is wrong. Because I even went to the Bible and told them Romans 13, 1 and 2 and 3 says that the powers that be are ordained of God. And God says that he set them up. And we are to follow the laws not only of God, but the laws of men.
That's right. Yes, sir.
And I also remembered when I had to go to another water fountain because the one I went to had a sign on it said no color. For white only. So ain't nowhere in the world as being a preacher I can stand here and talk about a truth if I don't talk about a whole truth.
Come on now.
If it's a truth for me, then it's a truth for you. We used to call it universal truth.
Yeah. Come on.
He said, Rev, you know the Bible said man shall not lie with man, woman shall not lie with woman. I said, that ain't got nothing to do with them cats getting jobs. That has nothing to do with nothing else. Well, come on now, you are president, you can't do that. I said, well, look, I'll just sign my name and won't put your name on it. Jim, I remember. And you know what? The only city, now think about this. I told those young boys, how proud can you be of a city that the only city in the history of the United States of America that had on its books laws against that was Cincinnati. Every other city had taken it down. And when we put it to the vote, we won. And when they put it to the vote, city council, the then city council, Phil Heinrich, who had been going around, he was a Jew, priest Lynch, and getting over like a fat rat in the Christian community, saying that I love Jesus, I'm a Jew for Jesus, pimping Jesus. And folk were voting for him because he was a Christian, yet he was a Jew, wasn't believing nothing he was saying.
Tell it, sir. Tell it.
Just trying to get elected, and he did. He kept on getting elected. Now he's writing a blog about trying to be a Christian. Wrote me and wanted me to critique some of them. I said, Phil, even if I agree with anything you're saying, I just don't like who's saying it. 'Cause you're a big hypocrite. Big hypocrite. And we had to vote, and do you know that the vote was 8-1? And still down in City Hall, the vote to let gays have equal rights in Cincinnati passed by a vote of 8-1, and the one no vote was Phil Heinrich. I wouldn't want that on my record. But that follows him now for the rest of his life. Let me go on and finish here. What do they want? That's what they ask. Well, what do y'all want, Reverend? I don't want anything. I just want everybody to know the truth. Yeah. And then one little guy raised his hand and said, you know what? What do you think about white privilege? I say, it's real. He said, well, I said, now, let me tell you what white privilege is. It ain't what you think it is. It's not that folk don't treat you badly or make stuff. I mean, people can be prejudiced. Yeah. People can be mean and nasty and evil.
Amen.
All races
Amen.
do that. People can be bigoted. All people are bigoted. But there's one thing that what constitutes white privilege is that you can never be having anyone to deal with way you live, and you are the best person in the world. Preach, Lynch. Is that racism you will never have to face. You will face bigotry.
Yes, sir.
You will face denial. You will face prejudice. But you will never, ever have to face racism. Only because of the color of your skin.
Woo, Lord.
You know why the slaves were so easily to be slaves? Because they were easily recognized. They couldn't go anywhere without being recognized. They could not blend in.
That's right. Hallelujah.
And so when I look at what is the truth? The truth is when I'm preaching now, I'm preaching to both black and white, all kinds of people, and people that I know who love the Lord and are good Christians, even bad Christians, if they are any kind of Christian at all, they know what the truth is. They know that the truth will set you free.
Hallelujah. Yes, sir.
I told them the other day, why is it that I got to always come and the black preacher got to always come to do the Martin Luther King Day speeches? When King died for everybody. You see, when your pastor out in White Cliff with all of the little streets with Mary Jane Valley View Avenue and when I can ride through some of the new subdivisions and see a Martin Luther King Boulevard or Martin Luther King Drive, I feel that we have arrived. We love him a lot now, but when he died, before he died, we didn't love him. Even black folk didn't love him. Black folk were harder on him than white folk. The black preacher was the one that kept him down, wouldn't let him talk. Because they said he was too early, he was before his time, and he shouldn't be talking like that. He had to use toilet tissue to write the letter from a Birmingham jail, and one ply at that. Wouldn't even give him 2 ply. Begging the white preacher to help me. And right here in this town, a man by the name of L.B. Booth, I told all this to the little white guys, and they ate it up. They loved it because they had never heard the truth. And they all left and said, hey, we have seen it in a new way and a new light, and we thank you for coming, and please come again. And some of us are going to be coming to your church. I said, well, did you know that most of the little black boys up here in the earlier years, when they started letting them in here, they came through New Jerusalem?
Yes, sir.
They weren't our members, but New Jerusalem was a place whereby the scholarship was down here, and we advertised for little smart boys, and we, what we call, filtered them.
All right.
My grandson said, where are all the black boys? Are these all of the smartest boys we got? And of course, they ran down the scholarship, and the test is no problem because we got a whole lot of smart black guys.
Yes, sir.
But then they have a thing about the moral piece, so they have to be recommended by somebody like y'all, because you guys are good, upstanding Christians. Yeah, you guys are the ones. And when they look at us, that's how they see us. And that's when they say, well, what do you want? You see, because what they don't understand, we don't want anything. We already got what we want. We got the truth. We know who we are. That's why we're doing so well, because we know who we are and we know whose we are. We know who we belong to.
Come on, right.
So when I walk in the office, you know, hey, what's going on? They don't say uppity anymore. I ain't uppity. I just know who I am. I'm tall, but I ain't uppity. I just know who I am. And I'm bold enough to speak what I want. And the truth is that if you put truth to anything, it'll stand. Lies will fall, but truth will stand. And that's why King could say, I ain't fearing anybody. I ain't scared of nothing. And if I don't see you again, I'll see you on the other side. But I know we as a people shall get to where we're going. Both black and white. See, that's what I liked about King. White folk are not going to heaven either if we're not going. Because heaven ain't segregated. Heaven ain't segregated. And so that's why I know that me and the white folk are fine. And I want you to know, and everybody watching me now on TV and listening to me across this country, that we are fine. We who know the truth, we have no problems with each other. How come the racists can't get along? Well, the racists do get along, those who know the truth. The Bible says there's no east or west, there's no north or south, there's no black or white, there's no rich or poor. We are all. Did the Bible really say that? No. But they got that from the Bible. The Bible said this, out of one blood, he made all people, all races, to dwell on the face of the earth. Black, white, red, yellow, everybody. I made them out of one blood. So when I walk around, I call white people, hey, blood, what's up? I'm educating white folk. What's up, blood? What's that mean, Reverend? Oh, come on, that means me and you all right, brother. Sometimes I want to take out my little knife and just prick your little wrist and prick my little wrist and let that blood flow. Ain't that good? Let the blood flow. Yes, sir, Doc. Yeah, we are blood brothers. There's an indictment on America until we face up to the fact that the truth is that we're all in this thing together. And you know who the greatest dividers are? Are the folk who will be coming around here trying to act like they're going to fix it.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, they're going to fix it. I'm going to pass a bill. Well, you don't have to pass no bill on somebody that's free. The bills that you have passed, they don't free me. I'm already free. You enslaved me. I was in Lincoln Heights having a good time back in 1954. Me and Cliff running around and locking the Lincoln Heights, shooting bow and arrows and fishing in the creek, swimming in the creek, going to school, playing basketball. You might have looked in the paper just the other day and saw that my high school was the first black high school to win a state championship in America, not Oscar Robertson's Crispus Attic. We won in 1952. We went out and did the research, and we finally got somebody to tell the truth. The truth shall set you free. And then Daniel Moynihan came out with a report and said that little black kids, we were inferior, we were poor, we didn't have stuff. And you know what that did? That did a lot to the psychic of little happy, free black boys. Now to be told that we are poor and inferior, when mama had been saying, and when granddad had been saying, when my teacher had been saying, that you are somebody, long before Jesse Jackson and long before James Brown, we were already black and proud. Mama told me that I was the prettiest little chocolate curly-haired boy she'd ever seen. And then I know she wasn't lying because all those other girls told me the same thing. They co-signed it. They co-signed it. And you know what that does to a little boy growing up? It gives him an ego system that is okay. My ego is in place. It's in check. And what we need to do is start incentivizing our children like our mothers did us and tell them that they are somebody. We knew how to write, we knew how to add, we knew how to count, we excelled. And now our children are being dumbed down with a bunch of crap. They're being told stupid stuff. We can't let it happen, y'all. We can't let it happen. There's too many tricks being played. Free school promise and no child left behind. How many programs do we have to have? And every one of them does nothing. And then they'll come out with another one that's not going to do anything. Don't fall for the head fake and don't fall for the okie doke. Make sure your kids are educated and they'll be all right. I'm finished. Stand on your feet and give God some praise in the house. Free. Praise the Lord.